5-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, always wore number 69. Nice. What is going on, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football, back at it again. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for being here. All right, for everybody who's not ever been here before, this is Master Football, okay? All things pro football, all things college football, all things video game football, anything related to football, American football, for all my international fans, anything related to that, we discuss it on this show. Please, 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 please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. Please share with your friends, especially that subscribe. We get graded on the subscriptions. If you could go ahead and do that, I would very much appreciate it. But after all that kind of stuff, let's get into the show. All right, everybody, this weekend we are so happy to present the 2021 inductees into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It was awesome to see up there Peyton Manning, awesome to see Charles Woodson, everybody like that. It was just cool to see that sort of situation, see everybody get out there and play. However, I wanted to go ahead and discuss one thing looking forward. So we've already seen the 2021 class come out. Let's hypothesize what's going to happen for the 2022 class. Might as well right now. Let's get into it. All right, I have a tweet here from Mr. Adam Schefter. It says, notable eligibles for the first time for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2022 include Demarcus Ware, Steve Smith Sr., Andre Johnson, Robert Mathis, Anquan Bolden, Devin Hester, and Vince Wilfork. Now, you'll see in the replies here, it's kind of funny. You see those guys. Mr. Brent J. 27 says, no, 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 and no. All great players, but Hall of Fame is a tough call, not the elite of their generation. Sure, okay, well, we're about to discuss that, okay? I also have this article up here, again, from Brian Diardo from CBS Sports. I'll make sure to include this in the description, so you'll have that at your disposal. But Pro Football Hall of Fame class, Andre Johnson headlines early look at next year. A couple of guys in here, Andre Johnson, Demarcus Ware. They've got a couple of guys that kind of listed off. So there's a lot of names out there. And again, everybody's going to say, what about this guy? What about that guy? What I'm going to do right now is I have a list of 7 dudes, okay? 7 dudes. 2 honorable mention, and then my top 5 that I think are going to get in. Again, the higher up this list you are, the more likely I think you are going to be voted into the Hall of Fame. And remember, how this is going to go is impact on the game is most important, okay? How much you are, whenever you're on the field, are people, are you changing the game? 2, how long you've done it before, what kind of your accolades are, because you can have a lot of accolades, but if you have a really long career, but if somebody has a shorter career but a ton of accolades, you're going to kind of want to give them the benefit of the doubt there. But without further ado, let's get into my list of my top 5, plus 2 honorable mentions. Let's get into it right now. All right, honorable mention number 1 is good old Reggie Wayne. Boom, Reggie Wayne. We come out here and check him out. University of Miami, played for the Colts in his entire career. If you check it out here, just the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, looking at that, he's got himself 6 career Pro Bowls, 1 All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champion. See, Pro Bowls, 1-time All-Pro, meaning that at one point he was one of the best receivers in the league, but basically in the whole NFL. But if you check down here, you'll see his stats. He benefited heavily from having Peyton Manning, and then Andrew Luck in his career. So, 14,000 yards, 82 touchdowns, has very, very good career, 13.4 yards per catch. Check out the NFL top receiving list. He is down here. He is number 10. Now, you see that he's done it over a 14-year career. Very, very solid. Again, I think he will get in eventually. I don't suspect he will get in this time because of a couple other guys that are ahead of him on this list. All right, honorable mention number 2 is good old Jared Allen. Boom, Jared Allen. So, played for several teams in his career. 5-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, always wore number 69. Nice. But played for the Kansas City Chiefs, Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears, and then the Carolina Panthers for a little bit there. Racked up a lot of sacks. So if you look here on the fumbles, so he's got 32 career forced fumbles. He's got 136 career sacks. At one point, he had one season with 22 sacks in it when he played for the Minnesota Vikings. On the official all-time sack leading list, he ranks here at number 12. And he played for 4 teams, but we only remember him when he played for the Kansas City Chiefs and the Minnesota Vikings. Very solid player. Lots of All-Pros, 4 All-Pros in there. There's another pass rusher that's ahead of him that I think is going to push him down. Might go 2 at the same time. You never know. But I do believe that he is one of the guys, and he will at some point be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. All right, guys, that is my honorable mentions. Now it's time to get to the list. Here we go with the top 5. So the 5th one, or the 5th most likely to get in the Hall of Fame, from my opinion, is going to be good old Tony Boselli. Tony Boselli, 6'7", 324 pounds, bam, back in the mid-90s. He came out of USC, was originally drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars, eventually went over to the Houston Texans via expansion, but never was able to play due to injury. If you look at him here, man, he's got 91 career games, 90 starts. He only played 7 years. He was 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 1990s the Hall of Fame's all 90s team. So if you look at that, I mean, he's already kind of in the Hall of Fame himself. If he would have played longer, it just would have been a matter of time. Just careers was cut short because of injuries. I mean, 7 years, 5-time Pro Bowls, 3 times All-Pro, almost half the years that he was in the NFL, he was the best player at his position. So it's really tough to beat that. Again, you got to get an offensive lineman on here. So I have a hard time justifying not having him on there. But again, the fact that he only played 7 years, some people are going to probably hold that against him. But when he was on the field, he was absolutely, positively dominant. Boom. There's number 5 now. Number 4, most likely to get induction into the Hall of Fame, is our dear friend, Mr. Demarcus Ware. Boom. Demarcus Ware had a very, very long career for the Cowboys and then eventually the Denver Broncos. 9-time career Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champion, all the Hall of Fame All-2000s team. So again, already kind of in the Hall of Fame. They're already kind of looking at that. But if you come down here and check out his stats, I mean, his stats are just ridiculous. So we check it out. He's got 35 career forced fumbles, 138 and a half career sacks. I mean, he's got, God, that is just insane. He's got 1 career touchdown. Look at that. Second year in the league. But, 178 games, 173 starts. One of the best guys out there. Absolutely terrorized people out there. Won the Super Bowl with Von Miller on the other side. Kind of tag team him as pass rush specialists. So he really changed the game. He really was on the field. You have to know where number 94 is at because he will wreck your whole game plan. I mean, you saw that. He is currently on the official sack list. He is currently 9th right there, 138 and a half. So he's 9th all time in sacks. It's just a matter of time, man. He's going to get in there. I think it's going to happen this year. All right, guys. Now it's time for my number 3 most likely player to get into the Hall of Fame. It's good old Steve Smith Sr. Boom. Steve Smith Sr. played for the Baltimore Ravens and the Carolina Panthers. 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. AP Comeback Player of the Year. Had that really gruesome injury and then decided to come back. 14,000 receiving yards. We see down here 81 career touchdowns. I also think the fact that he was, played so angry and had so many big plays and so many big games. You see 14.3 yards per catch. That's a pretty good number for him. But he was just, especially the fact that he's in the media, he's in and around things, I think that's going to kind of push him up a little bit. But, he was ruthless trash talker, very, very well known. It's only a matter of time before he gets that gold jacket. I suspect that he will get it sooner rather than later. However, there is a pass catcher in this group that I think is going to be above him, but we'll get to that in a second. All right, number 2 most likely player I have to get into the Hall of Fame is our dear friend, Mr. Zach Thomas. Kind of overlooked here. Zach Thomas, played a long time, had his boy Jason Taylor in front of him. We'll go into the Hall of Fame already. But Zach Thomas, man, when you really look at it, he had a great career. So 7-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All-Pro, 5 times he was the best middle linebacker in football. The Hall of Fame All-2000s team, already kind of in the Hall of Fame there. You look at his stats down here are just insane. He's got, what was that? He's got 48 career passes defended, 16 career forced fumbles. He's got 20 and a half career sacks. He's got 1,100 career solo tackles, 74 tackles for loss. I mean, gosh, he's got 4 career touchdowns. He's got 17 career picks. Your boy was all over the field. And he is, I remember 5 times that he was the best middle linebacker in football, hands down. Nobody talk about it. So he is great. You just really don't think about Zach Thomas, but he more than likely is going to get in sooner rather than later. And then number 1, most likely to get into the Hall of Fame that is not in right now, is our dear friend, Mr. Andre Johnson. This is going to get a little misleading because you see here 7 career Pro Bowls, which is good. 2-time All-Pro, which is pretty good. 2 times he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. But the story behind this guy is not so much what you're going to see down here on this stat sheet, but what he had to do and what he had to overcome. It was very, very clear that he was the most talented receiver around. Okay, you see a couple years here, he's got 1,500 yards, 53,000 yards in 2 consecutive years. His touchdowns were never really high. The highest he's ever had was 9. So he's got 14,000 career yards and 70 touchdowns. I want to show you an article that highlights how good he really was. SB Nation, boom. Andre Johnson's numbers were great. He was better by Lou Bien. This was written a couple years ago, but it was shocking to just kind of see this kind of stuff. So the really crazy thing about it is I want you to check out this line right here, this little section right here. Let's read this. Johnson caught touchdown passes from such luminaries as David Carr, Tony Banks, Sage Rosenfels, Case Keenum, Ryan Lindley, and Ryan Fitzpatrick. He never had a quarterback better than Matt Schaub, who was a big part of Johnson's heyday under Coach Gary Kubiak. Together, they went 12-4 in 2012 and made the playoffs, losing in the divisional round. Now, you have to remember that. I mean, that was the best it ever got. It says things fell apart after that. Kubiak was fired. Schaub hit his career wall well before Johnson hit his. For a while, that he and the Texans were at odds. Johnson called the 2013 and 2014 seasons pretty miserable. The Texans collapsed to 2-14 after that stellar 2012 season. And though they went 9-7 under their first year of coach Bill O'Brien, Johnson seemed to have a sense that winning a Super Bowl ring would necessitate going elsewhere. It's really a shame that he had to do that. It's really a shame that, and again, for some players out there, like your career doesn't all line up in certain ways. I do think that, not to take anything away from Tom Brady, the fact that the AFC East sucked for so long really helped him out in accumulating how many Super Bowls that he's had. Again, not saying that he wouldn't do that anyway, but I'm saying that it really helped him out. And then you look at somebody like Andre Johnson. What if Andre Johnson played for the Colts and Peyton Manning? Like, oh my God, he would have 140 career touchdowns. But you just can't kind of break that sort of stuff. But Andre was so good that anywhere he went, he was going to have 1,500 yards. He was going to do this. He was going to do that. He was going to be just fine. He was going to get his. But it sucks that he wasn't able to kind of do that. But I think that the Pro Football Hall of Fame is going to look at that and be like, yeah, dude, when he was on the field, that man was the scariest receiver we have ever seen. All right, guys, get in the comments right now. Who do you think is most likely to get into the Hall of Fame that's not on this list? You can put them on this list if you want to, but I think it's more interesting to talk about who isn't on the list that I had right there. Who do you think is going to get into the Hall of Fame? Get it in the comments, man. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, subscribe, get in the channel, get after it. I appreciate everything you guys do. You guys have yourself a good day, and I will see you guys on Wednesday.